And that's yet another DDG win.
Welcome, Dead Draw Gamers, to the DDG podcast. I'm Ryan Kelly, owner of Dead Draw Gaming, and tonight we've got Nick Moffitt, Hunter Butler, and for the first time tonight, Andrew Hedrick, your two-time champion this season. You want to go ahead and give yourself a little bit of an introduction since your first time on the podcast, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm Andrew. I've been definitely doing pretty well recently, and I'm excited to be on the podcast and look forward to what's going to be happening at UIC.
Badass. Yeah, like I said, two-time regional champion this season and the star of one of the best play mats I've seen this season as well. So
That's for sure.
All right. Well, tonight, that we're recording this about a week and a half before EUIC happens on the 14th to 15th. So we've got a couple of news items that has come out of Pokemon's official Twitter channel that we'll check out. We'll get into some of the results out of the Play.Limitless online tournaments, since we've just now had a kind of really big online tournament happen. So we'll kind of get some fresh results out of that. And then we will switch over to the Cutter Tap portion of the podcast. You'll want to go over to cuttertap.com, and if you're a Stage 2 subscriber, you'll be able to get access to about 10 or 15 minutes of us kind of going over what these guys think their top pick is for UIC and kind of getting an in-depth discussion of what their deck lists are currently looking like. So right off the bat, wanted to bring up what Pokemon tweeted yesterday. We actually got a couple of tweets. One is the first one's actually pretty cool. During EUIC next week, they're actually going to be giving out a couple of codes. So you're going to be able to get a alternate art Maridon. Is it Maridon? Maridon EX. Yeah, all art Maridon EX for PTG Live, and they're also going to be giving out a Palafin for Scarlet Violet. So be sure to tune in next week. Everyone, all 6 members of DDG are going to be playing at EUIC in London. And Play Pokemon generally does this for every international championship. They'll go out full out trainer or support or whatever. And this is pretty sick. Funny story, I opened 2 cases of the Scarlet Violet ETB, and I thought that the promo in that was the EX, so I scanned them all the PCGL codes into live, and then realized I just scanned in 5
Wins.
baby Maridon, and Coridon into live, yeah. So but this is way better. This is actually the EX and the cool expensive alt art version of it. The second thing coming out of Play Pokemon yesterday kind of ties back into what we discussed last week with the DQ that came out of the Charlotte regional. But Play Pokemon put out a statement. I'm just going to read it off here. They go, the Play Pokemon program is founded on the principles of mutual respect and creating a welcoming space for all players, professors, parents, staff, and spectators alike. In response to recent events, we are investigating the most effective ways to keep the community informed about significant changes and incidents concerning Play Pokemon activities. Our community are our partners in upholding the integrity of this program, and to provide better support, we recognize the importance of increasing transparency and evaluating our processes. We appreciate your patience as we work towards evolving our program policies in this partnership. In the spirit of the game and our community, we appreciate everyone continuing to support one another with honor and respect. Thank you, Pokemon. So this is kind of like a direct response to the DQ of Makani Tran and the I think the very legitimate criticism of the majority of the community that Pokemon doesn't release any comment about any DQs that ever happen at any level of Pokemon tournament, nor do they allow their judges to discuss the results of a DQ. So basically what you get whenever there's a DQ in Pokemon, basically a black box coming out of the tournament, and all there is speculation, and all you get is a one-sided story from either the player who's DQ'd or friends or other players who witnessed what went down at the tournament to cause the DQ. This is like in stark contrast to any other card game, specifically in Magic. They'll be very transparent about what happened at the tournament, why there's a DQ, the penalties for the DQ, etc. So I'll throw it over to you guys. Do you think there's any chance? I'll give my opinion first. I think this is just a very quick way for Pokemon to get out in front of the criticism, put a little placeholder out there, and I doubt we ever hear anything else in relation to this. I doubt we ever get a transparent release about any DQ or any judge decision. And not much will change. This is just basically for PR because this kind of blew up in their face. It got on Fox News, got on Newsweek. What do y'all think? Do you think this is going to change anything moving forward?
I think at least we know that to get a response from Pokemon, it has to go to Fox News. So if anything goes to Fox News, then Pokemon will have to respond. Clearly,
that's right.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's mostly just because it got to like the mainstream, just outside of just like the Pokemon TCG competitive.
Yeah,
scene.
because like as far as the DQ stuff goes, and I said last time, like, be lighter on the DQ. Like, the DQ should be like the last possible thing to use. But with the whole media, like Twitter going crazy about it, I guess, and being on Fox News and all this stuff, like, it kind of just makes sense that you have to say something, or else some people will choose not to, participate. And if it gets so big that, I think everybody in this call knows how big the gender stuff is in the world right now. Like, everybody's got polarizing opinions about this stuff, so it's a really big topic, especially in gaming, where it's a bigger, like, LGBTQ plus, not trying to forget anybody, all added together, circuit for most games. So I feel like Pokemon kind of was forced into saying something this time, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens if they actually explain the DQ. But I can kind of get where you're at, Ryan. It's just more of a wait and see thing, I think. But I mean, if we're going to Fox News, I think you got to make a little bit of a response.
They still don't even sound very committal. They're like, we're investigating the most effective ways. Like, they're not even saying they're going to actually put stuff out. Like, they're just kind of deflecting around them.
Well, this is the exact same kind of language we get where they say, hey, in the early part of 2023, we're going to get leagues
are coming back.
We're going to get cups and challenges back, and we don't get anything until April 15th, right? So, who knows?
That's the early part of 2023, to be fair. So
I mean,
it is true. It's the first quarter. It is
or start of the second one.
However, however you want to look at it, I would have thought like January, December would have been the early part, but I don't know. I mean, if they do like really take a good look at this, and maybe like for the new season, they do come out with something. They put out a policy that says for any DQ at a major tournament, we'll like put out this criteria and put out this kind of information about it. That'd be great. But even if they do that, we're not going to get anything about the most recent DQ. We'll never ever hear anything about Trans DQ, right?
Yeah. I just want to say I feel really bad for Makani. Don't know him too well, but based on what I've heard went down, it was a completely ludicrous situation that never should have happened. And I think the people involved should be reprimanded in one way or another. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but to just ruin someone's entire weekend like that, when they've put in so much time and effort and resources to travel to this tournament, and all they did was they were themselves uncomfortable, right? And someone else took that the wrong way, right? But
especially because it sounded like they had already made up their mind before they really even listened to him at all.
Exactly.
Already getting
which seems to be kind of like a consistent thing with the judges. Like, you'll have situations in games where it comes down to a judge rule, and they know what they're going to do before they even, like, the head judge comes and talks to you, right? So if nothing else, like, even if they don't decide to start making public statements about DQs, if at the very least they do some kind of tweak or change to the policy of how the judges handle the situation, that would be fantastic. Like,
that's what really matters, right? I mean, I understand why they don't have the transparency publicly about it, because they don't want to publicly shame anyone. You know, if someone was disqualified from an event, they probably don't want Twitter going after them, right? If, you know, someone does get caught cheating, you know, obviously that's a terrible thing and they should be disqualified, banned even, right? But you know, you don't want them to get publicly harassed as well, right? I don't think that's fair either. So
yeah, you definitely want to limit
in place, but yeah, I think it comes down more to at the tournaments having you know, a more streamlined or consistent approach to rulings in general, and that goes for all penalties, I think. So
and the other thing that most people don't talk about is like how big these events are and how small the staff has always been, and that the staff hasn't actually grown that much. So like the beginning of the year when there wasn't VGC events, they were using VGC judges as TCG judges just because they knew the write-up system, like how, you know, this is prize penalty, this is blah blah, like they know the escalation. Like if
but they don't know the rules of the game, right?
Well,
they
don't well, I'm sure some of them knew, some
not in the same way that someone who's actually played the game a bunch is gonna, right?
Right.
And to understand
not all of them can be, not everybody can be Chris Shemansky and be holy.
Of course.
Just,
yeah. And we can't expect that either, but
well, that's a fantastic point. Like these events are really big, and even if you are able to get a higher number of judges into the event to judge, it doesn't mean you're going to get the quality that you need, right? I mean, even if you go to a local game store and you have a judge that has been a professor and has been a judge for like 10 plus years, you really have to be up with the game and up with the new format to be able to make like competent judge decisions. And it's really hard to get enough judges for a 2,000 person event to be able to do that. Like, and then let alone be able to do that for an international championship where you also need to have your judges be able to translate.
Right.
And it gets super complicated.
Yep.
And I think one thing that Pokemon does, you know, this might be a like super hot take, but I honestly think they kind of need to get their priorities a little straighter, because something I heard out of the recent tournaments was in the announcements for round one, they would say something like, you know, our highest priority is inclusivity, when that seems like a little bit of a strange top priority to have when to me, it seems like your highest priority would be a clean and fair event where the best person wins, free of cheating and free of, you know, not making someone feel unsafe in the environment, right? So
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that's what they're getting at with inclusivity, but you know, it's not my responsibility to make sure, you know, everyone is comfortable. Like obviously it is, but you know, at the end of the day, they can take things however they want to, and that's, you know, people can interpret things different ways. That doesn't mean someone should be disqualified just because someone made, you know, some remark that was taken the wrong way, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Especially if it's not purposeful at all, which
and it is hard to prove intent, obviously. But yeah, the standard should definitely be high for a disqualification of that nature.
Like you got to be saying like you got to be like really saying something to get just DQ'd off your words. I think that's like,
yeah, exactly,
at the bottom level. I think if you throw all the political stuff, the Pokemon stuff, whatever, if you throw it all out and just go down to you're in a competition and a competition that involves a game and you're getting thrown out for your words, like your words need to be pretty bad for you to just be thrown out for words.
And let's be real, like if something ever happened where a player was so disrespectful that, you know, they did deserve a DQ, every single person in the community would be able to recognize it and would call it out. Like if someone was truly transphobic or was truly in any way exclusive of any player, like it would be recognized immediately and people would call it out. Like this stuff is so just, you know, just shouldn't have happened, but hopefully they learn from it. And I would totally go check out Makani's GoFundMe, but he earned so much money from the GoFundMe that they shut it down. So, you know, but in every other sense, I think, you know, this is a good first step. Hopefully there's some additional stuff in Pokemon in the future. So with that, let's get into the latest late night event on Play.Limitless. This was the first two late night events on PTG Live. So if you don't know, on play.limitless.com, Limitless organizes online tournaments. There's several tournaments every single day, every kind of time frame during the day. Generally the biggest of those tournaments are the late night events run by
Zach Lesage's
group. So, and yesterday they had, and typically they have a Tuesday event. The early event is sometime during the day, and then they have a later night event. The early one yesterday had 284 players, and the late night one had 453 players. So this is by far the biggest Scarlet Violet format so far on Play.Limitless. And just a quick breakdown of the top 8. It was like very, very well distributed across many decks. So Lugia took the win. We've got Gardevoir, Mewtwo V Union in second place, and then Mew VMAX, Giratina Lost Box, regular Lost Box, Goodra Lost Box, and in ninth place, Arceus Giratina kind of rounded out those other top 8 in ninth spots. So
Fury.
Yeah. And our own Gabe Smart in there with 10th place in with Lugia. So why don't we just start out with the win? We've got it seems like the single strike Lugia deck, just a 4-3 Lugia line. We got Tyranitar, a couple Lumineons, the Battle Style, Stonjourner, Radiant Gardevoir, Pumpkaboo. And why don't we start with our resident Lugia expert here? Do you think Lugia is the best deck moving forward in this format?
I don't know about the best deck, but it's definitely been underrated until recently. I feel like with like the loss of Evolution Incense and Quick Ball, a lot of people kind of thought, well, it's probably not consistent enough to work anymore. But obviously, we saw Lugia won this event. It also won the earlier late night with Zach, and got second at that late night as well. So really, it did really well at these events, and I feel like again, people have really been undervaluing it in the post rotation format, thinking it would not be able to set up, and you lose like all your Aurora energy attackers, which definitely makes it weaker. But something else to remember is all the other decks also got weaker by rotation, right? Lost Box doesn't have Scuba Net anymore. Basically everything got hurt in some way, right? Every deck doesn't have Quick Ball. So it definitely can still work in post rotation. And I don't know about it's the best deck, but I think it's definitely something you have to keep your eye out for, and something you have to make sure your decks have a way to at least play a close matchup against it.
What about Nigger Hunter? What do y'all think about Lugia moving forward?
Yeah.
I
Go
just wrote a almost 2,500 word article on Lugia, the list that I've been playing, the list that Finn's been working with. It's a little bit different than both of the lists. The first place list and James Arnold's fourth place list. James Arnold actually played Great Ball, whereas the first list played Capture Aroma. And the first list only played 4-3 Lugia, which I'm not the hugest fan of. I really like the 4-4. Just let me have it. Judge me into it. I just want to have it. I'll discard the rest. I think like the biggest difference between myself and Finn's list, between everybody else's list, is that we're playing 2 Zinnias, which a lot of people aren't playing, and it just helps draw a lot of cards, be able to discard the Archeopses and the other things out of your hand that you don't want anymore. And everybody's bench space is huge right now. Gardevoir, big bench, Rhydon, big bench, Lawson, big bench. Everything's got big bench. So you're drawing like a medium, 4-3-4-ish cards, and you get to draw for their whole board. So if you've got 6 Pokemon, you draw 6. So it's pretty decent if they have a full board.
It's discard 2 and then draw for each of their Pokemon in play, or each of their bench?
Each of their Pokemon in play.
Yeah, that's pretty solid for sure.
Yeah.
I also really like Great Ball on Lugia as well. I think at least over Nest Ball, because if you're playing the 4-4 Lugia, I think 4 Archeops, 2 Lumineon, I think you're going to be hitting something good most of the time off Great Ball. Whereas Nest Ball, you can only really get Lugia V basically. So
yeah, I'm not a big.
I definitely like the Great Ball.
There's like depending on how you play your lists, I think if you have a little more Pokemon, then Great Ball's better. If you're playing less Pokemon, then the Capturing Aroma might be better. The last thing I'll say about Lugia that I've really liked recently that I've put into my list is the basic single strike Evil Tall, which none of these have. And
Zach played it, I believe, at the first late night.
The first one.
Yeah.
The one happened last night. The first and fourth place didn't have it though.
Yeah. A lot of people are
yeah, Zach had one and only one Tyranitar, which I think 2 Tyranitar is good.
I also think you should play 2 Tyranitar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 Tyranitar is pretty much staple, at least for my testing. That you want to have it. You don't want to have to go try and find it difficultly. And then the other card is the Burn It. I like how everybody's onto the Burn It. I think it's actually worth the slot.
Burnett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure with the Luminion.
Yeah. Just being able to like, everything else is going to be slower. If you can do this turn 2, like it's worth it. You don't have to like Sycamore and have a brand new hand. Like just getting your Archeopsis out turn 2 is more important.
And also, like you lost your Quick Balls and your Aurora Energy, so your ways to discard Archeops are way lower. So it's sometimes important to be able to discard off of Burnett.
Yeah. So I really like the Burnett too. And I think if you're going to play Lugia for Europe, you should probably have a Burnett in it.
Yep.
Yeah, quick plug for Cutter Tap. We've got Hunter's Lugia article coming out in a couple days on Friday, so should be the day after this podcast goes out. And Nick's kind of article of everything we've lost from the rotation, that article went live today, so we have a bunch of content ready to go for EUIC next week. So
yeah, definitely check out that one. I think it's really good for building decks in this post rotation format to kind of look through everything that we've lost and see where those cards were applicable, and then figure out what to do without them. So definitely go check out the article I wrote. It's about 5,000 words on Cutter Tap. I think you'll enjoy it.
Organized really well too. It goes set by set from short and serial base to lay out in depth which cards we're losing, and
then I give my top 10 most impactful at the end just for fun. So
yeah. Another thing to point out, Lugia, when you go to the meta breakdown, Lugia has like not by far, but a much higher win percentage than any other deck at almost 55% win rate. The next highest I think is Mew VMAX, which might be a little surprising, but okay, cool. So,
and the Gardevoir Mewtwo V Union.
Yeah, so I want to get into that 50. Next. This is really interesting. This has it's been interesting to watch the prices of these cards in the past like week or so, because the Gardevoir Chilling Reigns have gone up to like an insane amount. It's not even like I think it's a rare, non-holo rare that's up to like $6 or $8 now. And when I picked up like 20 of them a month ago, I think I paid like less than $1 or something like that. So anyways, yeah, great buy. Okay, so the Gardevoir Mewtwo V Union list, pretty simple. 4 Brawls for Kirlia, 2 Gardevoir EX, 1 Gardevoir from the Chilling Reign, and then your full Mewtwo V Union list or set. The Zacian V from Celebrations, a Manaphy, a Mew from Celebrations, your Radiant Greninja, and 1 single Scarlet Violet Klefki. What are y'all's thoughts on this one? This is kind of like, to me at least, this was out of left field for a V Union package with Gardevoir.
I think I think it's a cool idea to try to beat Lost Box, because I think they go like set up the V Union, kill 2 Comfies, and then Roxanne, so they probably can't hit the Drapion, Mirage Gate Raihan, or double Mirage Gate, whatever. I'm not sure doubleization is necessary. I feel like you could probably get away with 1, and then I would probably go up to 4 Research and 4 Ultra Ball if I was going to play this deck personally. So, but otherwise, the concept's really solid for sure.
Yeah, I think with V Union, you definitely just want 4 Ultra Ball, period.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
The archetype or not, I think you just want to see the Ultra Ball. My thoughts on V Union are like if your opponent's going to try to jam it down your throat, I don't think it's going to be too good, but if you're using it as like your finisher.
Right. I think that's kind of the point, right? You attack with Gardevoir and Zacian early, and that's why, and then just come in with the V Union either to deal 300 or the 16 spread against Lost Box.
Yeah, I'm just I'm not sure about like dedicating 4 slots in my deck just to have something that's a finisher over not having another Shiny Arcana Gardevoir,
right?
Or having the Muse to like consistently set up. So I think this build's probably a little more clunky. Also, like having the Klefki, opening the Klefki can be awkward, like when you play Greninja and stuff. So I don't know how big I like the Klefki in this build.
Yeah, I would rather have a Mew for sure.
I'm pretty medium on the V Union. I think it's Q. I think it's cool to have a way to hit 300, but Zacian kind of hits 300 already, and you're
Right.
not 3 prizes. So I don't know. I think it depends on what you're trying to use it for. If you're trying to use it for mirror, like you're 16 spreading on mirror, then maybe I like it for mirror. But I don't
I
know.
think it's mainly for the Lost Box matchup,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
There's a lot of card commitment for one matchup, but Lost Box is like super big, so it is
Right.
important to have an answer for that matchup. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's, instead of trying to play the, what's it called, all the jellies and Cresselia and stuff like that, they're just playing the 4 of the Union pieces.
Which I do think it is a better answer than those cards, but
potentially, I don't know.
it's-
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't
it's still
tested the
pretty
B
hard,
Union
yeah.
yet, so yeah. But obviously, it's performing better, it seems, than the regular Gardevoir. But I think that's also partially because regular Gardevoir hasn't been playing research, which I think is really critical for the deck to set up. And I've seen 0 lists of, you know, that are trying to attack with the Shining Arcana that are playing research. So yeah.
It's also very important to point out that these tournaments are taking place on PCG Live, which has a ton of bugs, and we're less than a week into the rotation hitting on PCG Live. So this is going to change very, very dramatically before EUIC, and these online events don't tend to translate perfectly into major tournament results. So
the advice I try to give to newer players who are starting from the online age, like didn't play in major tournaments, like they're just starting out and they start out by playing online and stuff, and like basing their meta predictions on something like a new beta based on the online. It's like you really want to you don't want to be so, what's the right word I'm looking for? You don't want to be so tunneled into like the lists and be like, oh, this is the right list. What you want to be looking at is just like the amount of decks, you know, like how many Mew, how many Lugia, how many Lost Box. Not, all right, well, this build is different, and then this build, and then this is Gudra, and then this is Tina. Like, you don't want to try to use online events for that, because, you know, when a new format comes out, everybody's just trying a bunch of things. So nothing is ironed out. So what you want to see is, what you want to take away from online tournaments is the meta share of what people are trying, and just the top. You don't want to be counting like, oh, there was 10%, I don't know, some X deck if Reggie's was a deck.
Shadow Rider, I don't know, yeah.
I'm not going to expect 10% Reggie's going to Europe, but if I see 20 or 30% of the online tournament is Lugia, I might be able to conclude that 20 to 30% of EUIC could be some Lugia, you know.
Which wouldn't be surprised.
Not with the flimsy.
I don't know about 30, but I would not be surprised by 20% Lugia UIC.
No, I'm just throwing out random numbers.
For sure.
It also like it tells you what decks people are like paying attention to. Like when you see Lugia has been going up over the last few online tournaments, people are definitely taking notice of Lugia and considering Lugia going into.
Right. That's the trend you want to use from the online data. You don't want to go online and pre-rotation or like before the rotation happens, before a real tournament happens, before decks are ironed out. You don't want to be taking away, well, this is the right way to play this deck. You want to be taking away what is going to show up to the tournament, what you think can show up.
Yeah. And definitely don't just take the latest online tournament and take the first place deck and then take it to a major tournament. I've made that mistake a couple of times.
Yeah, you should absolutely be building your own decks. You know, trying to optimize the list yourself, whatever. Yeah, whatever you, and then trust your own testing, obviously, is my biggest advice. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to cover one more deck from these results, and then we're going to take it to the Cutter Tap subscribers portion, where we'll cover 2 of the newer decks that came out of this result, and one of them that's been really hot over the past few days that I think definitely came out of left field. But first, let's talk about just Lost Box, because we've got, I see 3 or 4 different variations of Giratina and or Lost Box. Just got straight Lost Zone box. You've got Giratina Lost Zone. You've got Gudra Lost Zone, and you've got Arceus Giratina. So
it's not really Lost Zone, but yeah, that's
right. It's just Giratina. Well, do they play?
They're never getting to 10.
I don't play any Lost stuff.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
just an RCS deck that plays Giratina as the secondary attacker.
right.
I
Okay.
think the other Lost Zone deck to mention, if you're going to rattle them off, is probably Charizard.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. I don't think that one's been doing as well though, has it?
No, but just in the general, here's where we are with Lost Box decks.
For sure. Yeah.
Lost Zone Box, Charizard, or Giratina.
Which you definitely, we'll want to mention. Piper actually had an article, I think one of our very first Scarlet and Violet articles covered the Sableye, Charizard, Lost Zone Box, and I've yet to drop a game with that deck on PCG Live. I think I'm like
Nice.
9 or 10-0. My elo is very low, but still. So yeah, what are y'all's general thoughts on Lost Zone and or Giratina at this point? What's our temperature with this deck? Do we think that this is still kind of the top dog, or are we trending away from that, looking at more Lugia and these newer decks, or how y'all feeling about this?
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I really like Lost Zone. That's definitely on the top of my list of things for EUIC. Working on a couple of different variants right now. We can go more into depth in the subscriber portion for that. But yeah, it's been really good. I think Giratina is all right. I've been preferring more of the basic variants personally, but yeah, they're all definitely very strong decks that have a lot of potential, and definitely still need ironing out of the list as well. But definitely getting there.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, I think for Lost Box, like I like the Skystone package if we're, trying to hit, or if we're trying to worry about like a plethora of matchups. If you can guess the meta correctly and you pick your correct V Pokemon, then the Sky Seal Stone variant is good. But I also like Giratina just because it has the option of just I can get through anything. I'll take a knockout on whatever. And in new meta tournaments, there might be some crazy deck you've never seen before, and multiple people are trying out different strategies. And there could just be a situation where you can put in some type of lock deck, some type of tank deck.
Someone brings up Oinkolo and
or whatever.
Stars going right through that. It doesn't matter,
Yeah, Giratina can just take a knockout, and I also think that just having the 280, like besides having the V-Star, just the random one shot, like having the 280 is nice. And then if you are playing a mirror, you can just Lost Zone the Giratina away, and you're basically the same deck. You're still Cramorant and Sableye.
Yeah. The Shred I've found is actually a good attacker in the mirror early if you can get to 7 quickly, because you can kind of go Shred and then either switch card out of it after they hit you with Cram, or evolve and attack again. The only issue is like if they're playing Zamazenta, they might be able to knock you out in one hit. But
yeah, and I will say personally, with the Lost Zone box, I am probably including the Zamazenta in my build just because I like the game plan, how it goes against a Mew. Just the 220, having that option, then having the Greninja Sableye option, then having the Drapion Stone. So I have a couple ways of making the 6 prizes happen. And so I'm definitely preferring the Zacian, but I could definitely see myself playing Giratina just because it has enough options to deal with random things that could happen in a new format tournament.
Giratina doesn't really have any like auto losses or super bad matchups, so like you can usually deal with everything. But I mean, in the mirror, it's not quite as good because you have like some of those dead cards, like when they might have some more cards that are good in the mirror. But it's still winnable matchups. If you play Giratina, you're gonna have fine matchups against everything in the room, which makes that deck fine. But
yeah, I don't think you're worse than like 40% against anything, right? Kind of thing, so.
And it definitely looks like if the current meta share from these tournaments continues, you're going to play a lot of Lost Zone. Like 20% of last night's event was Lost Zone box. The next closest was Lugia at 11.2%. So you're pretty damn close to playing twice or seeing twice as many Lost Zone boxes as the next deck. So
and that's not even counting Giratina. So with Giratina, it's 27%.
Yeah, then you're over, twice the next most popular deck. So
yeah.
All right, cool.
Close to where Lugia was the last format.
Yeah, if you look for sure.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we're gonna wrap it there on YouTube and on the podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Be sure to remember, go check out deaddrawgaming.com. Every single deck on from the results last night is going to be available on Dead Draw Gaming. We've got everything you could possibly need for EUIC next week, so please be sure to check that out, and then head on over to cuttertap.com for all the articles and deck lists that you could possibly need for EUIC. And we're also going to have the subscriber portion of this podcast post on a Cutter Tap every Thursday, which we're in there. We're going to go super in depth into the forecast for EUIC and the top picks from Team DDG players. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.